Start soon. I'm still accepting people. I'm like really sorry for, I know that we're a little bit out of time or late, and I'm really sorry for all the online participants. So, Mr. Ferrero, you have the microphone, so you can start sharing. Simona, the camera must be on him. I'm asking to everyone to please mute yourself if you're not speaking, okay? Si puoi mettere al signore Ferrero, per favore? Okay, it's all right there. You can have the floor, dear chairman.
Thanks. Good afternoon, everybody, and thanks to Mercafir for the organization, to WUWM for the conference in Italy, and to our friends Pallottini as chairman of Italmercati and representative of the European market. I have the honor to hold this conference. Okay, thanks. And to bring all of us to our issue of this panel about innovation. I think that after a pandemic period is very interesting to talk about innovation. It's something related to the future of our wholesale market, and will be interesting to share with our colleagues today about this issue. With me, we have Masami Takeuchi. Welcome, Masami, to the conference, Food Safety Officer of FAO. We have Gonzalo Bravo from Chile, from our wholesale market in Chile. Altivo Almeida Cunha from FAO Latin America. And at the end, Anne-Laure Jomas from Marché de Ranzich Semaris. I think we have to check if everyone is connected. We are all connected. Thanks. I don't want to take too much time, and I go to my presentation, starting presentation, and I leave the floor after to my colleague to listen, I'm sure, about a very interesting presentation. Just a few words about innovation in Milano. We have started a long process some years ago, starting as the latest market in Europe to move forward. We have a very old infrastructure. We are still working in an infrastructure 60 years old that was built in the 60s, and we are moving forward to make a strong innovation, a new infrastructure. And with the new infrastructure, could be that some of you remember the symbol of Expo, Foodie. We have decided to take Foodie, the symbol of Expo, and to bring this to the market. Now we call the Milano market Foodie Mercato Agroalimentare di Milano. And this is already an innovation. We have branded our market. We think that in the food market we need brand, and we have decided to have a brand for everything happens in our market. The second point, the second innovation, I try to turn the pages if I'm able. I'm not sure. Okay. The second point for us that is also something new is that before and after this very difficult period, we have a great result. The infrastructure, the wholesale market, we see in our number, is increasing the turnover about 10–15%. And we have not suffered so much like in other sectors. We think that this is a part of our infrastructure food system and is part of our future to be a very strategic infrastructure in the food industry and in the logistics of our sector. We see the same about our client, our customer, an increase of people coming into the market and buying products in the wholesale market. This is something that we were not sure about pandemic period to reinforce our presence in the industry. Another subject for us, very important. We are in Milano. We are not a city so big like Paris, and my colleague Anne-Laure we talk about, for sure, about Paris, but we are in a very dense region. Lombardia, Milano, and North Italy, it's a very dense, very dynamic region. And we have the obligation to be an important market, offering our structure, our infrastructure to the Northern Italy business. This is a slide that probably is representing the real innovation for us. We have decided not to move the market out of town. We have decided 4 years ago, in 2017, with the mayor of Milano, to keep the market in town and to become the first city hub, food city hub of our Italian system. This is really a strange decision, and we know that we are in some way in a different approach compared to the other market. They have been moved, they moved out of town with a very big infrastructure. We have 700,000 square meters in town, and we want to keep in town and to become the center of the food city distribution. We want to be a market, but we want to be also a very strategic logistics center for the last mile logistics. This is a point for us very important. We consider us like an airport. Our president this morning talked about the difference between having and not an airport, and this is the point. We are a city airport. We want to be a city hub, and to take our opportunity about being in the center, 2 kilometers from the square of Duomo, the central part of Milan. It's not the same in Rungis, it's not the same in Mercamadrid. Very big infrastructure, at least 3 times our extension, our dimension, at least some 10, 20 minutes of difference if you have to reach the center of Milano. This is for us is very important, as sustainability will be part of the policy of Milano in the next future, and sustainability is also to deliver with electric system, and the nearest you are and the easy is to develop a very well connected electric system for the logistics. About that, we have to refurbish everything. Our infrastructure is too old, has been built in the 60s. Now we have to refurbish. This is the plan we have. We have a plan to build over 200,000 square meters in the next 5 years. We call this Foodie 2025. Is our program, and the program is to build and to demolish something that is not efficient anymore. Just few imagine about our future market is not yet like this, but we want to become a very new and performing market in short time. Finally, we have to innovate on 2 directions. First direction, Foodie is a B2B system, is a wholesale market, but we want to be also a brand for the consumer. And we have this brand, Foodie District Market, because in Milano we have a large system of small market, retail market. We want to brand this market, and we have an agreement with our shareholder, the municipality, to bring foodie into the town, not only as a brand B2B, but also as a brand B2C. The second point with our shareholder, with the municipality, is to improve the city logistic, starting from foodie. Foodie has to be, for the municipality, the center for the food distribution in Milano. Those are the two innovations we want to invest on. We want to invest in a new infrastructure. We want to be more and more in town and to be connected more and more with the municipality and with the collectivity in town. Thanks for your attention, and I give the floor to Masami in order of presentation.
Masami, can you speak?
Yes, I can speak, but then I am trying to share my screen. Okay.
Welcome, Masami.
Yes, thank you very much. There you go. Perfect. I hope that in a few seconds you can see my screen. Yes?
Yes, we can see your screen.
Okay. Perfect, excellent. So thank you very much, everybody, for having me today. That I'm Masami Takeuchi. I'm a food safety officer at FAO, and today I'm going to talk about this title, that food safety innovation for fresh food markets. And before I start, I would like to quickly thank you, Eugenia, and then also all the people from the World Union of Wholesale Market People. Thank you very much for your invitation. First, that I was asked to talk about innovation in food safety, but then I want to point out that everything that happened in the past, in history, has been an innovation. So I show some refrigerators and then refrigerated trucks, some temperature sensors, and then also some temperature loggers. And then also on the right corner that I have a newer UV light system. So those are the things that have been incredibly useful. It sounds very basic, but then it has been a historical game changers for food markets in terms of food safety. However, I want to bring everybody back to basics, because FAO basically works with the countries, with the low or medium income countries, and then food market is a source of livelihood and then food security to millions. And then when we think about the types of market, now that we have been talking about wholesale markets, but then last 4 years I have been in Asia and then looking into the Pacific markets, there are very fine line between wholesale and the retail markets. There could be a gray zone in what types of market we have been talking about, because in general, particularly in Asia, when we talk about wholesale, people don't get the idea of wholesale, but then people think about more like a quantity, how much people are buying. So it doesn't really matter who is coming to buy, but rather how much they're buying. So there could be a very vague boundaries between the types of markets. So I am going to talk about entire system, because we really cannot distinguish those kind of markets in certain types of the world. Now, I would like to show you this fundamental basic issues about informal and formal management, because everybody here in this union is somewhat formal management systems. That's why that you are able to align with the association and then also participate in the group thinking, strategy setting. However, in the world, there are tons of systems and markets which are managed rather informally. and then often unorganized, and then perhaps with the low maintenance, and sometimes it's illegal. You know what I'm talking about. And then formal management, there could be some sort of authority, some sort of setups. There are utilities and facilities that people have access to. There could be access to the public service, waste, sewage, and water management. And there could be a special interest group that in the local management who have to have some sort of control over the management. So we are talking about both types of systems when FAO comes in to help in the food market, fresh food market. Then what is really the problem in terms of types of management? Basically, it is all about accountabilities. Basically, vendors, if there is no formal management systems, there are very vague areas in terms of implementation of the regulations. And then also, usually people prefer rent-free vendors. So basically, it is very difficult to manage public common systems, and then there is a basic lack of awareness. This can be said also to the customers too. The customers consider the cheaper the better, and then also that it's not customers' job to keep the place clean, so they don't do this kind of accountability. And then of course there is a lack of awareness. So this is basically creating the problem in the food safety and then food safety governance in the market situations. So I would say that improving food safety in food markets does not require rocket science. It needs simple but concrete food safety and biosecurity measures to be put in place. However, I would say relevant technology and innovation would help in a great deal. First, hand washing. That is something that this year and last year we have been very accustomed to, which is the silver lining of this pandemic, that the people are more washing hands properly. And then it is not only about personal hygiene practices, because if there is a water facility easily accessible, then people tend to wash. This is about behavior change. So innovation works here too. You can take a look at this basic hand washing facility systems here that some countries may be familiar with. These are basic innovation that make the place to allow people to wash hands, allow customers to wash hands. This is something that we have to think about. And then also the use of safe ice. Cold chain does not have to be super sophisticated system. A simple, safe bucket of ice can do so much. So something that simple idea, simple innovation, innovative approach can be considered to make the food safety situation much better. Big problem is the waste management, of course, because solid waste needs to be segregated from the source. And then also we have to think about risk of the infection, and then also the environmental contaminants, including pollutants, all kind of trash coming into the market. I'm sure that this has been a very big problem in many markets. And then wastewaters carried in a sewage system have to be treated. So as I said earlier, that the informal management system will face this challenge right away, because there is no particular system to rely on. And then if there is no management, this facility is not accessible. So something to think about in the global scale. Now, talking about innovation, that last year, this year, we have to have lots of innovative approach that we had to adapt. For example, awareness raising, how to raise the awareness in the market situations. I have seen lots of very unique, very creative ideas to show the graphics, people carrying the signs, and then also those physical distancing, those marking in the floor. We have seen all of them. If it is very simple enough that people follow, and then this can be a very simple innovation to make sure that things happen. Similar innovative approaches can be taken for the food safety improvement too. And biosecurity, that the lots of markets, both wholesale, local, retail markets, that this could be a problem in certain areas in the globe. And then also slaughtering in the markets in some countries, some regions, some particular local situation, it is something that go with the market. So we really have to have some sort of strategic thinking, innovative way of making people aware what is safe, what is not safe. So this is something that really I would like to flag here. Now that with the union and FAO, we had joint workshops on food safety in April and May in the region of Latin America and in Asia separately to find out what could be a good practices and what could be a good improvement that we can work together jointly to make a benefit to those different two regions. And then there are certain set of the recommendation came out from those workshops. I will introduce some. So first, about practice. Regulate and delegate. So second part is more important. So a recommendation came through that, okay, public-private partnership is really necessary so that market people can talk to the authorities. We can have some very common food safety guidelines for multiple markets, let's say region-based or country-based, and then share the good practice. Some market managers said that maybe the WWM repository can be created so that good practices can be put in the place so that markets can use those kind of good practices. And then also to promote food system approach and a food safety culture so that there doesn't have to be a police going around, inspectors going around, but then each person, each vendor, each customers practice food safety culture. Next set of recommendation is about premises. Negotiate and separate. So we can learn from those economic losses from the COVID, and then we can take those lessons learned and then co-opt vendors and suppliers, and then food safety, biosecurity guidelines can go together, and then separate sections, good for health, better for sales. And small renovation, we have to remember that those smaller renovation can go a long way. We don't have to completely rebuild anything. We can just do a little renovation here and there, and then can go a long way. The last set of the recommendation is people. Educate and participate. So drive the demand-driven safe market creation. We found that traceability could be the weak point in most markets, and COVID-19 learning, we need to reflect well to think about what needs to be done to mitigate lots of risks in the future. We need to work together. Some newer innovations for food safety exist, for example, blockchain technology, and then also virtual labeling for traceability, whole genome sequencing for the pathogen detection, and then we will have novel food production coming up and a new packaging system. So be ready. Food may not come from the conventional agriculture. Food safety practices can be different from the conventional way. So those innovations, technologies need to be integrated into the thinking of the food market operation and also the management too. So this is my last slide, the take-home message. Innovation and technology help, but food safety is all about people. And then we learned from the COVID that we cannot afford to close any food market. This is the livelihood of people, but we certainly can make them better. And then we need constant teamwork. This union is a wonderful example to show that we can have a teamwork together at the global scale. And then I would say it needs to start now, otherwise this will all be forgotten until the next pandemic. Thank you very much. Over to you, Mr. Chairperson.
Thanks, Masami. And running the time, I give immediately the floor to Gonzalo. Gonzalo, are you connected?
Gonzalo from Lo Valedor Market, are you connected? You can take the floor.
Ok, muchas gracias. La verdad que quiero, primero que nada, agradecer la invitación a ser parte de este congreso.
I'd like to thank the organizers for the invitation.
Federación Latinoamericana nos propusimos apoyar en todo esto que está sucediendo. También quiero agradecer
I must
en
say
esta pandemia que todo el mundo está
before
viviendo, el apoyo, la comprensión y la cooperación desde el mercado mayorista al mayor
before
junto a las autoridades del país,
starting with
junto a FAO, en
my
especial a don Julio
speech, I'd
Larraín,
like
quien
to support
comprometió,
the
creyó que los
FAO,
mercados
the
mayoristas del país, a través del
WUWM,
Servicio de
and the
Comercio
other
Minorista y
organizations for
Empresarial Libre,
supporting, for
adelante.
giving their support to our
Estamos
country
seguros que nuestra
in
relación con
such
los
a
pequeños y medianos
difficult
agricultores del
time.
país es
We
excepcional,
will
solo que las
certainly do
autoridades
our
nos
best
autoricen
to
y nos dé las facilidades para poder distribuir esos
overcome
productos
the
a la población
pandemic.
que tanto
In
hoy lo
our
necesita.
country,
También quiero
we do
aprovechar esta
have
instancia
production, we do have
para
food
dar
produce, but
su
it's quite difficult for
sensible
us to have this
deseo de superación
produce
a aquellas
get
familias,
to
a todos sus
consumers, to
compañeros,
the population.
agricultores, feriantes, comerciantes de los mercados han dado la vida por
So
poder
the first
y
thing
tratar de seguir distribuyendo estos alimentos que la gente quiere. Con respecto al tema
for
del
us
astillero,
is
voy a
to
dejar a don
make
Christian
it
Frenzel,
possible for
él es el
all
gerente operacional
farmers,
del
for all
mercado
current
y quien está
farmers
manejando y
and
guiando todo el
producers
tema
to
del
continue
mantenimiento y del proceso. Muchas gracias. Richard.
their production. And I give the floor immediately to Richard Frenzel, who will give you more details. Can you see the presentation? Can you see the slides? Yes, we do.
Nosotros en esta ocasión, como mercado, vamos a presentar lo que
Our market
ha sido la innovación en el manejo de pérdidas y desperdicios.
I'm going to talk in particular about the operation of our market in general, and in particular our way of managing waste and food waste in particular. These are some images from our market with pictures of some products that are considered to be waste, something that is unsellable. Quite the opposite. They still have got value. They can still be sold. They might be quite useful for people who are in need of them. Our market is called Valledor, and we are located approximately 3 kilometers from the city center of Santiago, so we are in town. You can see in the slide some data about our surface area and equipment. So 30 hectares, it's our surface area. It's quite an atypical kind of market for Latin America. Our headcount, the total number of workers within our our market is 5,000 units. So 5,000 workers, including people who are involved in sales, other operators, 8,000 trucks or vehicles per day, 30,000 visitors per day, power consumption per year 8 gigawatt, and water consumption per year 308,000 cubic meters. Our energy efficiency is quite good, both in terms of power consumption and in terms of water consumption. So these figures give you an idea of the size of our market. This is an overview. You can see that the market, you can see the general layout. We have some areas that are used for wholesale and other areas that are used for retail. With I'd like to mention a couple of examples that focus on food waste in particular and how we manage that. I will mention two trusts, two foundations. One is called Fundación Banco de Alimentos Solo Valledor. It was established in 2015, and it is really working on recovering food waste to redistribute it to other associations. We reached our peak in operation in 2019 with 5.8 million portions of food that were recovered. Another example, another case is Compostaje. This is a program that focuses on composting and on producing in particular jams and marmalades. We produce approximately 700 tons of jam per month.
Parte de las hojas y de las frutas que no van a alimentos.
I'm sorry. So we have fruit and vegetables that can be used for as a human food, but other big quantities of fruit and vegetables cannot be used for human nutrition, and therefore they are usually used for animal feeding. And they are covered by the action of composting. So really the activity of this foundation was based on composting. And so this is our development plan that is aimed at becoming a sustainable market in the next few years. This is the roadmap. The goal is to achieve 25% of waste reuse by 2020. Reuse may be declined in different ways, so may be used for animal feed, for composting, or for other reasons, and then the idea is to get to 50% of recycling in this way by 2023. By 2025, our goal is to deliver 10 million of portions of food to the economy at large. And then we also have a goal in terms of waste reduction by 2030. The idea would be to get to zero food waste by 2030. This is where we stand now. This is waste generated and how it is disposed of. You can see in green, the blue bar refers to the percentage of regenerated waste, whereas the green bar referred to the use of this waste for other purposes. Then, recently, and in particular in 2017, with the support of the FAO, the National Committee for the Prevention and Reduction of Food Waste in our country was established, and it has obtained quite a number of positive results over the past few years. Why did we launch this food recovery program? Already in 2015, we realized that many people were walking to the markets or driving to the markets and asked sellers was to give them the waste. So that was the real original idea of the food bank. Our representatives identify the waste products that are left at the stores, at the different stores, and they refer, of course, to previous experience in Argentina, Brazil, and so on. And this is the original idea that led us to establish the food bank. The food bank is a very big organization, and it includes over 90 not-for-profit organizations and associations working within the community. You can see here a breakdown of its activities. Of course, we accept members from all over the world. Our idea is to develop a very wide, a very broad and inclusive network. In this chart, you can see that 2020 was was highly impacted by the pandemic. Quite a lot of jobs were lost, and the quantity of recovered waste, of collected food waste, was considerably lower. You can see that there has been a severe drop versus the previous year. This is some data regarding our operations, the volumes we handle. You can get an idea of what the impact from coronavirus was on our operations. Despite the pandemic, we continued to work. Nonetheless, our markets continued to work, and luckily enough, we succeeded in providing food to the Chilean population despite the pandemic. I'd like to mention two more programs. The program that has to do with the composting for animal feed, or to integrate animal feed and composting as a whole. These two activities reach out to 6 million inhabitants that were also badly affected by drought over the past few years, especially in the region of Santiago in Chile. And this chart shows our figures from the last years. We have now topped 10,000 tons of organic waste, and we have allocated an economic value to this material. It was scrapped in the past. It was pure waste, whereas now it is reused, and therefore it is worth something. Here you can see the breakdown of the use of this product over the years. We have a composting activity. 700 tons of waste per month are allocated to the composting program. We work on the basis of a circular economy approach, and we wanted to involve all the markets in what we do. In particular, we allocate 10% of total waste to this activity. As for animal feed,
kilos que estamos generando, esto es una equivalencia
our overall output is 40,000 kilos per month.
Aquí se llama fardos, pesa aproximadamente entre 20 y 25
Gonzalo, I'm
kilos.
sorry, I'm asking you to speed up a little bit so that we can conclude because it's a bit late. Unfortunately, time is over, and thank you very much indeed.
Gonzalo?
También queremos mostrar que estamos comprometidos fuertemente con el tema medioambiental. Estas reducciones hoy día nos han generado una disminución en términos de equivalencia de CO2.
We are sorry, but our time is up. You should kindly close your presentation.
Okay, Mr. Chairman, I'm really sorry, but we're really out of time, and the presentation was 10 minutes.
Thanks, sorry, Gonzalo, to have interrupted you, but as you know, we have a time plan to respect, and we give to Altivo Almeida the word.
No sé si estamos dentro, no.
Altivo, can you hear me? Altivo, are you connected? Can you hear me? Would you start your presentation? If there is any problem with Altivo, I ask Anne-Laure if... Anne-Laure, are you connected?
Altivio, can you speak?
¿Se escuchó la exposición?
Se escuchó la exposición, sí, muchísimas gracias. Lo que pasa es que era un poco larga, eran 10 minutos, si no, no tenemos tiempo para el debate después. Altivio...
The presentation was a bit too long. We had to interrupt the previous speaker, otherwise it won't be time for questions and answers. And now, Altivo Cunha.
Você pode desligar o casco para ver se do computador melhor? I told him. Altivo? Altivo, can you take out your headphones? ¿Puedes sacarte el casco? Headphones out. Okay, so let's go to...
Anne-Laure, Anne-Laure, are you connected, Anne-Laure?
Hear me?
We have some
Yes, we can hear him.
We have some problem connecting Altivo. If Anne-Laure, you are already connected, we can give you...
Yes, it's not Anne-Laure, it's Pauline, but I can start.
Please go ahead.
Yeah, okay. Hi. This is my presentation.
Okay.
Okay. Hello, everyone.
Hi.
Thank you for the invitation and the opportunity to come and introduce international markets innovation policy. And more especially our Rangis Market Incubator, Rangis & Co, which has proven to be an effective way of introducing innovation to our market. So with some 1,200 companies serving the fresh produce food distributor sector in Rangis, in the turnover of over 10 million euro in 2020, Rangis International Market has already demonstrated its ability to serve as an incubator for innovation and a transporter. Innovation is a key concern at Rangis Market, which provides companies with a range of innovative and efficient services in all fields. When it comes to construction, for example, we are working on developing more modular buildings to take into account occupational health risks. While from a customer relations perspective, efforts have been made in terms of digitalization, communication over recent years. We also developed various innovations designed to support the ecological transition, such as the installation of electric terminals and renewable energy at the site. Digital issues are also a priority for us, and we have had a fiber optic installed throughout the market, as well as introducing connected car park to regulate the flow of heavy goods vehicle in particular. Last but not least, we are supporting our companies in dealing with the challenges of distribution, particularly where e-commerce is concerned by developing a marketplace. We created Rungis & Co in 2015 with the aim of creating innovative companies to serve the market ecosystem. Since then, Rungis & Co has supported over 80 projects with 12% of the startups now operating out of premise at the market, 71% still in business, and over 15 million euro in funding raised since the incubator was created. Rungis & Co specializes in the issues associated with the food supply chain and provide solutions relating to supply, inbound and outbound logistics, the ecological transition, particularly where packaging and digitalization are concerned, and ultimately to the issues associated with the food transition. In practical terms, the new companies supported by the market have included web and mobile apps concerning order management, stock management, business services like invoicing, funding, etc., product traceability, and even e-commerce. Then, of course, we have those projects that focus more on ecological transition, with solutions for waste management, CSR consulting, and even fighting food waste. Last but not least, some of the project leaders have developed food products that are keeping with new consumer trends, notably including vegan, vegetarian, healthy, and natural, and even locally product. Once their initial period of support from Rungis & Co has come to an end, we work actively to help our startups establish a presence at the market, especially when it comes to projects that reflect the expectation of the Rungis ecosystem. The Rungis & Co incubator fuels innovation at the market and must serve to strengthen the site's appeal. Companies to have come out of Rungis & Co and now have an active presence at the site include Pandobac, a company that markets a reusable bin service for waste delivery, for zero waste delivery to food professionals. And Digital Food Connect, a technological solution that facilitates access to marketplaces and home delivery platform for wholesaler, producer, and caterer. It was in fact, then there is Califrey, which has developed a web and mobile app that allow chefs to combine their order with a single contact person right up to the point of delivery. It was in fact Caliphrase that enabled Rungis to set up a fresh product delivery platform for private individual in the space of just few days in March 22, enabling Rungis companies to continue to sell their products when restaurants and street markets were closed. I also finally like to mention Upcycle, which has developed an urban agriculture system for growing mushrooms on coffee grounds and bio-waste at Rungis. And this project enabled them to go on to launch various other projects based on bio-waste recovery, including the development of semi-industrial composters, which Rungis will soon be offering trials of. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Anne-Laure. Merci beaucoup. Vous êtes toujours un exemple pour nous en Italie. Donc
You're always a model, an example for us in Italy, so we congratulate you.
have connected Altivo, and if we are able to hear Altivo, for your presentation, we leave you the show.
Hello, everybody. Can I share the screen?
Yes, you can share the screen.
You can see the pictures. How you can see the picture?
Yes, we can see. Yes, good.
I don't have a return on voice.
Yes, we can see.
Please, I don't hear you. You can hear me?
Yeah, we hear you very well. Go ahead.
Well, I suppose you can hear me. That's it. Oh, thank you. Perdón, por eso siempre yo voy a hablar en español. Siempre hay una cosita con este mundo virtual. Bueno, yo voy a hablar.
I apologize for my issues with technology. Well, now I'm going to talk about the role of wholesale markets in Latin America and in the Caribbean region. And I will focus in particular on the strong partnership between the Latin America FAA unit and the Union of Wholesale Markets in Latin America. We have been focusing for some years now on a strategy that is aimed at leading to concrete results on our markets. You can see this is a wheel, a flywheel that is consisting of the several actions that we undertake on the market. In fact, within our region, we cover 294 markets. So we work on this market and then we work on understanding. We want to obtain evidence, to obtain data relating to the markets. This is a region of the world that can produce and generate data on many aspects. Our markets have very different characteristics, so we need this data. Then we share this data through a specific, through an ad hoc initiative. We share this data regarding, share this data about the market. And also we develop solutions and share them with the various markets. And we have prepared and published a number of publications of papers that are available both in English and in Spanish, and that focus on action within our national markets. Here is some data. We obtain a direct impact in 19 countries of our region through our wholesale markets. This result has involved a number of activities that we have developed. We had 14 virtual meetings during the pandemic. We involved in these meetings 94 wholesale food markets from the region and 925 participants during these meetings. 35 technical papers were presented. We published 6 newsletters, and we also published 5 monthly surveys in English and Spanish, and we have undertaken an in-depth survey about circular economy. What is the impact of all this action? You can have a general idea from this data. We have received messages, we have sent messages to over 25 million people who have attended or who have followed these online activities. We have conducted 6 surveys to get data about the effects of our action in Latin America. These surveys assessed the impact of the pandemic on supply, demand, and on the prices of the various classes of products, including fruit, vegetables, cereal, meat, grains, meat. And we did this through these surveys, which allowed us to produce strategic information, allowing to better understand how to update and how to improve the performance of our markets. We have tried to identify the priorities for each market, and in the image to the left, you can see the list of these priorities, and we have provided a huge amount of information regarding the innovation requirements. The priority of innovation was clearly identified, and that means that the market is looking forward to development that, of course, must take into account that the real context is quite complex. The first issue has to do with the digitalization. After the pandemic, the market from our regions have responded promptly. They have started using digital e-commerce platforms and signed agreements regarding distribution and delivery. They have worked on standardizing information and procedures, in laying down clear guidelines. I must say that the markets have been very swift, very quick in responding and adjusting. Here is a list of the various actions undertaken. These blue bars refer to the actions that were undertaken to promote digitalization, for instance, electronic payment, the supply of baskets of primary products, and so a number of actions to promote online commerce, e-commerce. What are the challenges? Well, they are listed here. What are the limitations of skilled, in terms of skills of the personnel, for instance? There is still a big problem with the improvement of skills, but overall we have identified that there is this willingness to improve and innovate. Many countries within the region maintain domestic information systems, and they obtain data about quantity, origin of fruit and vegetables. Consider that we are talking of 122 markets overall. This is, for instance, the case of Brazil. This information allows us to identify the source of the carrots that are sold on the market. This model is based on the French and the Spanish models, and the data that is obtained focuses on the origin of the product and is a guarantee of transparency in terms of traceability. Let's now consider the social action with social impact. We have listed 55 food banks that are closely associated with improvements in terms of waste reduction and so food banks. These are key players for the wholesale markets. They allow to reduce loss, to improve efficiency, and they certainly have a positive social impact. As a matter of fact, these products may be offered, or the surplus products may be offered to the population, the people who are in need. We have also been working on our knowledge about the market. We have prepared the questionnaires regarding 12 wholesale markets in 8 countries. 10 wholesale markets, I said. In 10 out of 12, water consumption is a significant cost, and In 8 of the 12 markets, it is energy consumption that is particularly expensive. And this data is quite important for our future plans. Circular economy is not only critical for in terms of environmental impact, but it is also very important to improve this circularity. So we need to reduce waste. What are the steps we are going to take towards the modernization of the wholesale markets? We have identified 10 steps that should drive the shift towards more modern markets. First of all, standardization. Standards are crucial to promote transparency, to enable fresh produce trading. And also, it is quite important to provide clear information about the origin of the product. So date of harvest or production, date of packaging, and of course providing this information right on the product creates added value. So information about the origin, I said, how they are produced, and also their nutritional value. This is absolutely important. We are also working towards a standard product-specific packaging. Another step will involve the certification process targeted to the products. This is a way to move ahead. We know that after the pandemic, the world will be totally different. And in this new world, the digital platforms will be essential. I was listening a little while ago to the Italian rapporteur. This information is absolutely required in order to design our logistics for these markets. The cold chain is absolutely important. We need to blueprint to have a blueprint of all the steps in the logistics in order to design a new cold chain, a more organized one. And then we need to invest on staff training on an ongoing basis. And also the last step, we need to adopt a policy of transparency in the transactions that are carried out. So we need absolute transparency from this point of view. What is the key message here? The key message is that modernization also means resilience to shocks. COVID was a major challenge for us, and we needed to ensure healthy and safe markets in order for them to play their role fully within the supply chain. For this reason, we need a vision. And what is our vision? And when I say we, I mean the wholesale markets. There are three pillars that are unavoidable. First, the markets must meet the values desired by consumer. They need to provide information to consumers regarding the nutritional value, their health quality, how the product was produced, where it was produced, and who who produced it. We need to encourage consumers to choose new farming regions, and the consumers must really be helped in becoming active actors, active agents in this field. Wholesale operators, and this is the third point, must become efficient and innovative agents. The transactions within the wholesale food markets must be fast with low transaction costs, and especially they must be safe and healthy. Thank you very much for your attention. I was very glad to talk to you about these issues.
Thanks a lot, Altivo. And now we have completed the first round, and we start with a round table, a second round. Let me check if there are already some questions from other people before to start the round table between us. And let me just check. Do you have already some questions? Well, I started to ask Masami about innovation. You have been very well focused on safety as in your daily business. And I would like to understand, how do you decline safety and innovation in the various parts of the world? Do you think that there are different topics applying safety in the food industry and the food market across the world? I would like to understand, how do you approach the different regions across the world?
Thank you very much. I think it is a wonderful question, because this is exactly the problem or issue, let's say, that we face. Basically that when I go to one region, for example, Asia, that I see some very particular problems, and then that could be common among neighboring countries. When I go to the Pacific, there are another set of the issues in terms of food safety, and then also the addressing those issues are different. And then as you are the ones who know these kind of things the best. So I think that so far that this World Union of Wholesale Market have been taking this regional approach, and then I think that is exactly the methodology and an approach that is called for. But then at the same time, that having this kind of global dialogue to, let's say, compare and then contrast and then exchanging what worked in what region, and then sharing the information, sharing the documents, for example, standard operating procedures or some sort of manuals or guidelines. I think those are the methodology for food safety, basic issues. But then when it comes to your question about innovations, I think that it is very, very important for those markets who experienced in the advanced technologies or some sort of innovative ways to introduce some sort of hygiene procedures or food safety improvement. It is very important for the union to take note of it. Having this kind of a conference to share this kind of experience is most important thing, because once it is documented, putting into the repository, then it will be very useful for other regions to learn from those practices. So that's how I try to see that this strategic group-wise approach can be useful. And then just specifically talking about traceability, because that is something that all the members in both Latin America and Asia pointed out that they want to improve. So if this union members have any experience in innovative approach in tackling these traceability issues, I think this is right on the spot that other members in other regions will be able to benefit from the experience sharing. So over to you.
Thanks, Masami. I would like to ask to Gonzalo something about innovation and sustainability. First of all, I have clear in mind that Chile is one of our major business partners. We have a lot of products coming from Chile, and we know that the market share will improve. South America for us is one of the major trade country for food import. How can you deal with an increasing demand and sustainability?
Bueno, gracias por la pregunta. La verdad que lo hemos comentado en montones de oportunidades.
Thank you for your question. We talked about this before. In the southern hemisphere, food is produced for the northern hemisphere, and governments have been working in order to improve relations, and we do try and increase consumption of cherries, avocados. Of course, we meet the traceability standards because this is required of us, and Chile was successful in this. All the standards have been applied and abided by, and that's why Chile is exporting so much towards countries in the northern hemisphere.
We deal with a big problem in consumption of land, and I would like to understand if you do the same in Chile and in South America. What are you, which is the status
la diferencia aquí nosotros siempre vamos a hacer una diferencia en el mercado mayorista Nueva York. Los grandes productores agrícolas de nuestro país están con mira a la exportación.
Large farming concerns in our country work for exports. So their goal is to meet the demand of receiving countries. Small farmers produce for the local markets.
Y en los mercados del país. Ahora, quiero decir una cosa, nuestro consumidor exige cada vez más la calidad de los productos. En nuestro mercado, productos de segunda o tercera categoría o
with your
calidad,
consumers,
no se
please
comercializan,
demand high quality products. We do not sell class 2 or class 3 products because our customers do not want those, and that's why producers try to produce A-level, A-level, best quality products. You should never market poor quality products because they don't get sold. And large producers, large farming concerns have an outlet on the world, on the global market, but final users, final consumers want quality.
To Anne-Laure, I'm very interested in understanding about how technologies, how you can develop technologies to strengthen our wholesale market. For us, you are the leading market in terms of innovation and technology in Europe, and how can you develop this across the other market in your expectation?
Pauline, you have the floor.
Sorry, it's Pauline. Could you repeat the question, please? Sorry, could you repeat the question, please?
Pauline, excusez-moi Pauline, j'ai écrit.
I apologize, Pauline. I just got
no
your
problem.
name wrong.
No problem. Could you repeat the question, please?
Yeah, well, for us, Rungis is all the time the leading market in terms of innovation, in terms of new technologies, and you are the state of the art. And we would like to understand how can you develop this technology across the other market? How can we share your experience with the other market?
I can continue in French. The startup incubator in Rungis help us to found a new innovation and develop introducing innovation to our market. So this experimentation could be developed in other wholesale market, I guess. And with this type of incubator, you can fuel innovation in your own market, I guess. I don't know if I answer your question.
Yeah, thanks. And what do you have in mind in the next future about technology in the logistics system? Are you moving also on that?
We work on the ecological transition. So for the logistic, especially, we want to develop infrastructure, electric infrastructure, and hydrogen and other type of infrastructure to help sustainability logistic and develop green innovation for our market in the field of logistic. It's a part of our project in this specific field.
Thanks a lot, Pauline. I move to Altivo, and I would like to ask you something about the fresh produce chain. We know that this is our critical issue, how to have a cool chain for a fresh product. And what do you think about innovation on that?
Bueno, acá tenemos, yo voy a hablar español. Tenemos muchos
I'll speak Spanish.
Para proveer la infraestructura. Todavía
To
con la
promote
presentación de Masami nos mostró que
about this topic, I'd like to refer to what Masami said. She showed us the solutions that have been adopted in different countries. The Caribbean area is a very large one, and generating technical and technological efficiency there, and also energy or power consumption efficiency is crucial. So the cold chain solutions are not spot initiatives. These are solutions that should be seen within the framework of circular economy. They are also about education of operators, awareness of the operators, and that's a challenge to make our markets more modern. Markets should have a strategic approach, a strategic plan. We must invest in education, in training, and as James said during another roundtable, markets need financing methods in order to fund their activities, because they are an essential link within the supply chain. They are as important as rural production and urban consumption. So it's not just a question of modernizing the markets. The other ends of the agri-food chain should become more modern too. And so among our challenges, there are infrastructural challenges, but we have to reconcile circular economy, technology, education, investments in training and education. We have to reconcile all of these.
There are some questions through the web. And
So,
please.
So thank you, Mr. Chairman. So Raúl Gibodó from Berazategui Market and board member, he's saying, I will say it in Spanish because we have translation. Excelentes presentaciones. La pregunta a la mesa es, ¿ustedes no creen que la pandemia permitió visibilizar a un sector de distribución?
So the question is in Spanish, and it concerns the fact that the pandemic has highlighted roles that were underestimated before. And I'd like to know whether you agree with me that the food supply system has been very prompt in responding to the needs of consumers during the pandemic.
It's interesting to do a quick answer, each of us. From my point of view, pandemic period has brought our market to be a strategic infrastructure, and not only to be a market, but to be considered as a logistic place and a part of the whole food chain. And this is very clear for us, was not so clear before the pandemic.
Pour une fois, ça résonne beaucoup, je vais parler en français. Il y a un économiste qui a beaucoup compté.
Speaking about innovation, Jules Peter, an economist, was very influential in this. Wholesale markets, ever since they were born, well, they were always innovative. Schumpeter used to speak about creative destruction. We recreate and build again. Massimo invents something new on a daily basis. In the case of Rungis, we have a world class example of innovation. And why is that so? Why am I talking about innovation? Because our wholesale markets are essential infrastructures. And our facilities are public facilities. They provide public service activities, and wholesalers should adapt constantly to the evolution of demand. And that is why wholesale markets never stopped investing and innovating. And this crisis, the current crisis, has demonstrated that wholesale markets throughout the world have been up to their task. They've been up to date, and they were up to date constantly. They were very modern. They have proven that they are very modern. They can meet the needs of consumers. They provide fresh produce, healthy products, local foods. So I'd like to convey this message as a president, I'd like to spread through the union and also through FAO and the UN and other international institutions, well, I'd like to spread the message of technology and innovation. And I'd like to prove that wholesale markets are ancient institutions, but they meet the needs of modern times and will further surprise you. We'll have an airport, an airdrome, an airport, a modern system to transport goods within the market. So we will keep being incubators and we'll keep inventing new solutions, and not only in those sectors where innovation is expected of us. I don't think FAO is going to ask us to find something new, but we won't be working on traceability only, but I won't tell you the whole story because we want to give you a surprise.
Other question from the audience?
No, we don't have other questions.
Okay. Now, just to complete our panel, a quick tour, and I leave Gonzalo Bravo and our friends from Chile to give some final words. And after Masami, please.
Thank you very much. It has been great. I answered the last question from Argentina in the chat box, so I'm not going to say, but then I would really like to agree to the chairperson who is saying about those importance of innovation in the sector and then taking this momentum. So that's my last word. Thank you very much. Over to you.
Thanks a lot. Masami from Chile. Gonzalo.
Agradecer sobremanera la posibilidad de la participación e informar y comunicar un poco lo que nosotros somos.
I'd like to thank you all for giving me the opportunity to talk about our experience. We are ready to meet the consumers' needs or requirements. New packaging, new standards, new products also. Quality of the products, packaging. There are new demands from consumers, and we need to adjust to that. Producers and intermediary operators.
Final words, and after Pauline to close the round table.
Sí. Muchas gracias por la invitación. Es siempre un honor estar.
Thank you very much. It's always a great honor for me to participate, to attend meetings organized by WUWM. For many years, the wholesale industry has not been taken into account. The focus was only on on farming and consumption. There was nothing in between. But we do know that what is in between helps translate the values from the demand from the demands or the requirements of the consumers to the producers. So today, thanks to the support of the FAO, we are acknowledging the great efforts undertaken by the wholesale markets. They were invisible example, in the past, they were not recognized. They were not recognized by politics and at no level. So I think this shift is strategic. We have now become visible. We are now recognized by international organizations. With the pandemic, of course, the wholesale markets were hit, but their operations did continue despite the pandemic. And this was a clear example for the entire sector. We have kept on working. Our industry has kept on working thanks to us. And today we are in the spotlight.
À toi de terminer notre conférence.
Pauline, tu veux prendre la parole?
No, thank you. Thank you. It was a pleasure to be here with you and to explain our policy in innovation. That's the question? Sorry.
Thanks. Thanks to all the panelists. Thanks again to Mercafir for the organization, and thanks to Stefan to have been with us, and Massimo as well. And thanks to everyone that has attended to the meeting and the conference. Thanks a lot.
We're going to have now 15 minutes. We're going to have now 15 minutes of a break, and afterwards we're going to go back to an auditorium where we're going to have a quick summary of every roundtable, and afterwards the closing speech by our chairman. Thank you so much for all the participants that were participating online. You will find the recordings of the morning session in English available really soon in Mercafir website. Thank you.